Welcome back for another Wednesday Zoom Networking. And our guest speaker today is just a really good friend of mine. Someone I met early on in my journey of, what does it mean to become a real estate investor? And what I believe sincerely today is that the real value are the relationships you build and the people you come across. And I can honestly, say that in this regard because this guy's become one of my best friends. And you don't know who you're going to meet until you really get to know the person. And I say all the time, don't chase a deal, chase a relationship. And along the way, when you do that, you're going to find people that you really resonate with, and they have the same mindset, they have the same drive, and they're just good people. And you can't have no bigger bonus to what we do than to add quality people into your circle. For one of those people for me is this guy. I introduce our my guest speaker, my good friend Mark Abramovich. What's going on, brother?
Oh, all is good, JJ. It's great to be on here. For those that don't know, so I actually used the Grok the other day to find out how many Mark Abramoviches are in the country, and I found out there's 47 of us. So the distinction is unlike Mark Abramovich, who's the attorney or the doctor or the capital fund investor out of New York or the principal, which was interesting. I happen to be Mark, the lender. I focus on financing. So and tonight we're going to be talking about financing. My topic of love and passion. So yeah, and very much looking forward to Q&A afterwards. So there's some stuff I'll talk about. Hopefully not bore everybody too much and keep you all amused and entertained with
Well,
Excel.
before we get into business, I thought we might get into
Sure.
some of your personal life, Mark.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Personal life. All right.
For those that don't know you, where in the country you located?
So I'm in South Florida. I'm in Wellington, Florida, which is right next to West Palm Beach. So we pretty much have warm weather all the time.
Oh, you're
It's
that
nice
Mark
and comfy.
Abramovich.
Yeah, that's right.
For those that are
So,
down near West Palm Beach.
and even though I live in horse country, I do not have a horse. We ended up here just because it's a nice place to live. But it is the winter equestrian capital of the world, if not the United
Yeah.
States. And literally, the U.S. Olympic team comes here to train for their jumping and polo and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool place to be.
Yeah,
Uh,
I actually had the pleasure to come down and visit Mark last year during baseball season. Saw the Dodgers
mhm.
play with Shohei, and of course, the night we went was the night before he hit his 50th home run.
Yes, it was the night before his records, and it was actually pretty funny when my younger son turns around and goes, "I don't get it. What's the big deal about this guy?" And I said, "Everybody has an off night." And sure enough, the next night on TV, my son got to see him break all the records, and it was pretty amusing. But it was great to have you here. And actually, in addition to the going to the games, it was really cool to have a chance to take you out to where one of my friends has her horse in a dressage and be able to just hang out and see the riding
Beautiful
facilities.
countryside, beautiful.
So yeah, I'm in South Florida. Previous to that, we were in Rockland County, New York. For those who don't know, it's the area right above New Jersey, where
And
New York
you
State
got,
begins again.
and you have a baseball team up there.
Yes, we did. We do have a baseball team there. It was the
The Rocky
Rockland
Boulders.
Boulders.
Yeah.
Yep, which was really, really cool. And how small the world is. So you mentioned the Fortune Builders. Uh, During one of their commercial syndication classes with the guys from there's a company that buys up shopping centers, essentially. They buy real estate where there's large supermarkets in it, especially across the Sunshine Belt. And it was really funny when during one of the breaks, so I mentioned I was from Rockland, and one of the guys comes up to me and goes, "Oh my God, do you know this guy Nidifer on it? He's one of the players." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, that's my relative. He actually plays for the Rockland Boulders." I'm like, okay, like wild, small world. So it was pretty exciting, and definitely for those. For those of you who are interested in baseball or like it, I can definitely suggest a smaller sized, like AAA baseball stadium is a lot more fun. It's much more family oriented, not as busy, just much more fun. It gave me a whole new appreciation for the game rather than a big stadium. Not to say that it's not fun to come to watch the Dodgers, but it's a very different experience
Yeah.
of smaller.
And of course, we had our networking event this year with the boot camp, and our Saturday event was held at a youth baseball facility,
Hmm.
which is
Yeah,
was cool to see, kids having the opportunity to start at the young age. So, hey, really quick, one last question
sure,
in the
of
beginning
course.
here. What did you do before you became an investor? Because somebody once told me, don't just ask them, are you a wholesaler or rehabber or are
No,
you whatever, but what did you do before you became a real estate investor?
I think I know the smart guy who asked you that question. So, what did I do before real estate? Um, so, in general, what's funny is that real estate has been running in parallel with my career, actually. So, this year, it's actually 20 years of investing in real estate. So it's kind of funny that it's been a pretty long journey as well. But I had a career in engineering and design. So I designed digital dental equipment, and I have 7 patents to my name for it. For those of you who don't know what that is, when you go to the dentist and they take x-rays of your teeth, if they're using a digital sensor and the image appears on the computer screen, immediately, chances are the sensor was designed by me. I happen to work for, thank you. Eh, You know, it's funny when you look at your life and just you're in the right place sometimes at the right time. I ended up working out of college. I ended up working for a company that was the original company who made these sensors. They were the first to market to make them. And just they were because of it, they ended up being the kind of major name on the market. Then they merged with a huge multinational company out of Germany, and then finally that German company merged with a company in the US to become a dental behemoth, $15 billion company. And I was the senior industrial designer there and just stayed on and through all the mergers. So where what this taught me and what I advise people about is even if you're starting new in real estate, you're not really new because there's something else you've done in life,
Hmm.
right? My background was 18 and a half years of designing equipment, looking at spreadsheets, looking at products, having to analyze an existing product to come up with something new. When I went into real estate, it ended up being the same thing. It was just spreadsheets and numbers in a slightly different medium, but it was still having to look at a project, having to understand it, look at what they're trying to do, what's a different way to come up with it. And it was pretty funny when I realized one day that I was designing just in a different medium. And so it's my advice to investors, especially people who come on and who I talk to who say, "Well, I'm new to real estate. I've never done a deal. What do I do?" Or "I don't know, and I've got no experience. What do I say to people?" And my question is always, "Well, what did you do before real estate?" Because you could be new to real estate, but 20 years of managing staff in a business is pretty important, right? It's a pretty hefty set of experience to bring to real estate. Or, oh, you were an accountant for 20 years or 15 years or 25 years. Well, how does accounting for somebody's taxes, it's not really that different once you port over that skill set into this new industry, networking with people. We all have a good friend of ours, Andrea Lane, and JJ knows her very well as well. And it was really funny talking to Andrea when she talks to people about how she built up her real estate portfolio now and what she does and how she builds these teams of investors that she works with. And everybody goes, "Well, how did you do this? How did you get into real estate and in 5 years do all of this?" What nobody realizes is that Andrea has 30 plus years of experience building teams for banks and putting together call centers and business centers and all this other stuff. So it wasn't, while real estate was a new industry, building teams was old hat. Okay. And that's the important thing. you have to realize, what skills do you have now? What skills do you have out of your regular life? One of the when I had the, when I was working at the job, I had a funny conversation with one of my colleagues. He was an electrical engineer, and one day we were all walking to lunch, and he goes, this is ridiculous. They treat us like children. He goes, at home, I am the manager of my household. I have to run the household. I have to make sure that the house is in repair. I have to make sure that the shopping's done. I have to make sure that the utilities are paid for, bills are paid, lawn is mowed, right? He goes, so I'm taking care of all of this household, right? I am the manager, I'm the technician, I'm the everything in this household. And he goes, I show up at work and they treat me like a child, telling me what needs to get done and how to do it. Instead of telling me what they want done and having me figure it out because I'm the engineer, no, I'm being told how to do the tasks. And so it was a really interesting thing, this dichotomy of that in his private life, he is running a household, right? None of us really think about it, but if you consider your own household, being able to go to a job, earn an income, and then make payments on your bills, right? Whether your rent or your mortgage, your utilities, everything else, it's still running a household, right? You still have that experience. You're not new to it. And then if you port that over to running your project, it's the same thing. You have a project, you have a budget, you have to make sure you stay within that budget. You have certain expenses, you have to make sure you pay those expenses. And then at the end, you have to sell it for a profit and actually, put something in your pocket. The skill set is not really that different. So you could, you know, and whoever is on the call new and feels, that they don't have enough experience and how are they going to talk to other people? Well, guess what? You know, those of us who are parents, right? We're running that household. We're taking care of those kids day in and day out, making sure they survive. I mean, let alone thrive, just survival. And so suddenly you have that skill set that you can bring over to real estate. So yeah, you could say that you're new, or you could say that you're a professional, organizer and manager and, project manager. So, yeah,
Yeah, and I remember when I started, there was a question of how many deals have you done? And for those of us that were new in the beginning, I'm working on my first. And
hmm
there's nothing wrong with saying I'm working on my first. And a lot of that's just really the mindset. But yeah, you guys, Mark is awesome. We've had the pleasure to become friends, and actually, they were in California for the event recently, and I kidnapped his son. How old is Robert?
So Robert's 15 and a half.
I took him out and let him drive my car.
Well, you should be grateful that I've taught him a little bit.
Oh yeah, it was really kind of funny. We were on the street, ready to turn into, left or right, and I looked at him. I said, "It's not as easy as it looks." It's just no, it's not. No,
No,
it's not. So let's get to the topic of hand.
sure.
Your topic is mastering a renovation budget for lenders and contractors.
So, what I want to start with is that a renovation budget needs to be easy to understand. Okay. And it's not only should it be easy to understand, it should be easy to determine when items are done or not done. So renovation budgets, they it needs to be the first and foremost thing I always suggest is it needs to be easy to understand what's done and not done, right? You want to remove vagueness. Renovating a kitchen, $25,000. That's vague. And it's vague for your contractor to understand. It's vague for your lender to understand. It's just vague. What does renovating a kitchen for 25,000 mean? On the other hand, if you break that up and you start saying, okay, replace, brand new kitchen cabinets, $10,000, brand new countertop, $2,000, right? And then you want to mention the actual material. So it's not just new countertop, it's new quartz or granite countertop, because there is a difference between quartz and formica.
Yeah.
Okay. So you want to break that up. So then you've got your your countertop, $2,000, new refrigerator, $2,000, new dishwasher, $700. And so when you're doing this project, whether it's with your contractor that you're having this conversation, well, your contractor now knows exactly what the deliverable is for them to get paid. That means that they have to install the cabinets in order to get reimbursed that $10,000 for material and labor. They now know that they have to install the refrigerator to get reimbursed that $2,000. The same thing goes with your lender. So, you know, we're discussing this as investors in the middle here, right? So we're the ones kind of managing the project. The contractor is on the one side getting it done, right? Project manager, contractor, whoever. On the other side, there's the lender who's providing the funding for this. And it doesn't matter if it's, private, hard money. Let's just say there's a lender, and most of the time the lenders are working on a reimbursement draw system, right? They're not advancing money, they are reimbursing for work completed. So as a lender, I don't want to be behind on the value, right? I don't want the property to be worth less than what I've advanced. So I want the work to be done, then I reimburse. Work gets done, I reimburse. And so it needs to be clear and easy to understand for the lender what's done or not done. Replacing an HVAC system for $8,000, right? That line item in the budget is easy to understand that an HVAC is going to get replaced. Now, when the work gets done, right? The contractor says, "Hey, I'm done." The investor goes to the lender and says, "Hey, they're done. I want an inspection, I want the draw." And an inspector comes out or photos are provided. However, whichever lender you're working with, they have different ways of managing it. And let's say the inspection is done to see if the HVAC was replaced, and now the money is reimbursed for the work completed. But again, it's got to be easy to understand. It's a little more difficult, right, when things become vague. And so, same thing, bathroom remodel, 15,000. What does a bathroom remodel mean? Right? Are you replacing the tile? Are you replacing the vanity and the toilet? Are you doing a new glass door? So it needs to be easy to understand. And uh, that's my biggest, I want to say lesson, my biggest advice on this is that the line items of what's being done need to be very easy and to understand. So, simple example, I have a client that I've done quite a few deals with. Our friends play together. And so in her case, when there's frequently money that I'm lending is not only brokered out or it's capital fund money that I control, it's actually my own cash, right? We're that close. It's my own money. I have my own relationship with her. And so when the renovation is being done, she will get on a Zoom call with me and literally walk me through the project, showing me what's done and not done. And she has the Excel spreadsheet pulled up. Well, actually, it's a Google Sheet at that point. She has the Google Sheet pulled up while I have the same Google Sheet pulled up on my computer. And we literally go through and she goes, "Well, look, HVAC's been done. Great. I marked off it's done. Oh, look, the hot water heater was replaced. Great. It's replaced. And there's dollar amounts associated with it. Oh, hey, we replaced the roof. Great. 15,000 was associated with the roof. Great. We're going to reimburse it." And we literally walk through and everything that's done is done and it's getting reimbursed, and everything that's not done, it's not done. And it's very easy to understand. Now, I understand that there could be scenarios of bedrooms, or let's say flooring is being done in an entire house and you've got two bedrooms being done, and let's say one bedroom is 500 square feet and another bedroom is 400 square feet. So now it's a question of, you know, is it 50% of the flooring budget that you're getting? Or is it, you're getting into that nitty gritty? That's where it gets tougher. It would be a lot easier if the budget was broken out to say, okay, 500 square feet of flooring in bedroom one, X amount of dollars, X amount of flooring in bedroom two, X amount of dollars, or just be flexible enough that if the lender comes back and says, "Hey, you did the flooring in the smaller bedroom, so we're not doing 50%, we're doing 40% reimbursement for this line item," you know, just be okay with it. Who comes up with the details of the scope of work to be done? Hi, Carell. Uh, so it's the investor. whoever the investor is working on the project, right? It's somebody's flip or somebody's rental. I'm assuming flip for a renovation budget. So whoever is the investor, they're the ones who are going to walk through looking at what needs to get done initially. Now, obviously, they can bring in their contractor or somebody else to say, hey, what do you think we need to do here? But
Okay.
sooner or later, they're putting down that, line by line,
Scope of
the rehab.
work.
They're filling out the scope of work. And I'll actually, I'll share my screen and I'll show you guys where you can download hours off of Always Capital, as well
Okay.
as, I'll show you kind of how to fill it out and what it looks like. So that's question one. Question two, will the lender check the details upfront for the renovations and over time also check before sending the funds for the next draw? So details. The first thing that's going to happen is that renovation budget is going to be reviewed by the lender before they even submit the renovation budget for to the appraiser. And by the way, why is the renovation budget necessary? Because the appraiser is using that renovation budget to determine the after repair value.
Up front.
Okay. Up front.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's say you're buying a property for 150,000, you're going to fix it up for 80 and you're going to be selling it for 400. The appraiser gives, gives us two values on an appraisal. He gives us the as is value to make sure that you're not overpaying for the property, that it is worth 180,000 or more, or whatever, 150,000. And secondly, that appraiser is using the renovation budget to now determine if the renovation budget gets the property to the after repair level of the neighborhood. Example, all the houses in the neighborhood have quartz countertops, but according to your renovation budget, it's going to be for mica. You're not hitting the number. If all of the houses in the area use tile floors, I'm using examples here, okay? They're using tile floors and there comes, and they use high-end tile, but your renovation budget is calling for carpet,
Mm.
right? Simple examples. These things have an effect on that after repair value, right? If the bathrooms in the houses in the area, that are selling for 500,000, all of the bathrooms are remodeled, but yet the bathrooms in this house are old and the renovation budget does not call for renovating the bathrooms, then obviously you're not getting that final value. And so this renovation budget lets the appraiser know what you're doing to be able to determine the future value. Okay.
Yes.
So now, does the lender check over time? Yes. Every time you've completed enough things that you want to make a draw, you want to request the money back from the lender to reimburse for what you've expended, they're going to inspect what's been completed. And they're using that same renovation budget.
I have a question. So
Sure.
I have to be ready with reserves up front, do the work,
Yep.
then put in, and then I get a
So
reimbursement.
great question. And I actually have three ways that works. But yes, the easy answer is yes, you need to have reserves to be able to get the work started, right? So you get the work started, you get reimbursed. You get the work started, you get reimbursed.
Okay.
At the same time, how that happens and kind of the nitty-gritty of it, I have another there's three ways kind of that this works, and I'm happy to pull up again when I do a screen share. I'll show you the Excel and I'll show you the three kind of methodologies.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Carell. So,
Yeah.
two things.
Yep.
What I really like that you just pointed out is that, someone's going to get a house and they're going to want to get it fixed up. So, we've got a distressed house to some extent. And like you said, the investor, Carell,
Hmm.
needs to have an idea of what they want to fix in the house so they can know what to ask for.
Hmm.
And so they can then talk to the lender and say, we need this much money. They should also keep in mind, as you're saying, that for the neighborhood, what do the other houses look like? Do you
Yep.
if someone's greatly bringing up the value of a distressed house, then they might want to put in something more than just what we call a lipstick makeover.
Right. So here's something very important. You don't want to over renovate a house either. You want to only bring the house up to the level of the market that you're in. If houses in the neighborhood are selling for 500,000, you're not selling $1 million house. You're gonna have an issue. You're not gonna be able to sell it because the market, this area calls for $500,000 houses. Now, to get a house from its as is condition to that 500,000 to that final repair condition or that final value, there's something that needs to get done. And you as the investor need to be experienced enough or knowledgeable enough as to what needs to get done, right? If all of the houses for that $500,000 have shower panels so that they've got a rain shower and a handheld and jets, and your plan is to only put a single handheld, it's not quite the same.
Hey, Tony,
Hi,
how
Tanya.
are you? You're on with Mark Abramovich.
Nice to meet you.
Likewise.
Okay. So I get that part,
Mhm.
but I recently learned that making a unique house
Mhm.
is the way to go. Because you're gonna get what you want regardless because it's unique. This is what I'm just learning. I believe that. Like you don't want to make it $1 million house if it's only a
Mhm.
$450,000 house,
Yep.
but you want to make it a little unique so it'll draw people.
Okay.
Like I'm excited.
It depends on what you mean by unique. And I'm not gonna, you know, at this point, this discussing, specifically what kind of finishes to put on a house and things like that. It's not quite the tonight's topic, but it depends on what you mean by unique. If unique to you is I'm going to paint the door red so that it stands out and everybody knows that the houses with a red door in the neighborhood are the ones that I did, that's fine. If unique to you is that instead of using the cheapo, or not the cheapo, but instead of putting in a single, nozzle for the shower, you're going to spend the extra $500 to put in a shower panel that just takes it up a level, that's fine, right? Um, but if you're going to be unique where I don't know what unique.
So when I say unique,
Mhm.
I mean just something like a signature on each property that you do, just something of you.
Mhm.
Like it has doesn't
Sure.
have to be the same thing, just something. I'm very
Yes.
creative. So it can be the tub. We made a
Sure.
round, shape, long, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yep. Got it.
Like
That's fine. But if the houses in the neighborhood are calling for a tub and you get rid of the tub and you only have a stand-up shower, it's a question, right? That's what I'm trying to point out, that you want to conform to the neighborhood. If all of the houses in the neighborhood are stucco and your house is the only one that's wood framing or wood paneling, it's a question. So that's my admonition in terms of being the same in the market. Now, if all the neighborhood houses, like I said, have mundane humdrum doors, and your door is a bright yellow color with bright yellow highlights on the house, so everybody driving by notices it and knows that this house was renovated by you, that's fine. It's That's the distinctions.
Hey, Mario, you're on with Mark. What's up?
Nice doing. Hey, Mark, I was big into Mets, switch hitting catcher in the 70s. So
Okay.
Mets organization. So you were a center fielder?
No, I never played.
Oh, okay.
That's JJ having fun with me.
Oh, okay.
No, my sport is karate.
Gotcha.
Mark,
Yeah,
Mark is built like a friggin'
there you go.
house. He's got shoulders that Mickey Mantle would want to have.
Oh, please.
There you go.
So,
So
yeah,
cool.
Mario.
But the question, I guess,
Mhm.
from a fix and flipper, you do, it sounds like you do draws
Mhm.
and you do a 3 to 5 draw.
I don't
And
have a schedule.
you don't.
It's not a schedule. It's up to you when you want to draw. It's just that there's a draw
Mhm.
fee. So because there's a draw fee, it gets a little pricey if you want to do a draw for $1,000 while you have to pay 200 to 300 for the draw fee itself, right? So,
Okay.
but at the same time, um, we don't control how many draws you do or when you're doing them. It's up to you.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So the other
Mhm.
question, I guess it's more technical. Do you lend against
Sure.
the bond?
Do I lend what?
Against the bond. So in other words, I get a $50 million bond. I let you put a lien on that. Is that how you lend, or do you have
No,
to? No,
we're
you
strictly on the property itself.
need property.
Basically, there's a property that you're fixing and you're fixing up, so we have a lien on that property itself, and that's it.
Because I do, from wholesales to fix and flips to foreclosures to probate to land
Mhm.
parcels, raw land to converting. Do you lend against also raw land to convert into fully entitled or no?
Oh, it's funny. You're the third person now to ask us this in the last week. It's funny that, the
Mhm.
universe is knocking on my door screaming, you got to get to this. At the moment, n no. Directly,
Okay.
no. I do have I do have a company that will do a loan for horizontal development as long as there's vertical included as well down the road. So they'll lend on the horizontal as long as they're vertical.
And do you play in the commercial multifamily arena or only in the
Yes.
SFRs? You
No.
do that.
Commercial and
Right.
arena, yep, it's perfectly fine. Relationships with hard money, credit unions, whatever basically gets the deal done.
So if I'm acquiring an asset for 1.6, putting 11
Mhm.
million in reno, and I have a bond of 50 million, you'll lend for a
So it's not
certain.
about the bond, it's strictly about the purchase price of the asset and the renovation budget. Um, you know, Most
So,
likely the
but the
capital
performance
source.
is a $25 million return on its money, complete and stabilized in 18 months. So, okay. Oh,
Yep.
it's good to know because I sometimes buy it as the nonprofit. I walk around like I'm a priest, Monsignor, or I buy it as a profit, and
Hmm.
therefore depends. I mean, you don't
Okay.
really give a damn about whether I'm buying it in my nonprofit organization or profit.
Uh, it only has to
Make a
do
difference.
with recourse, non-recourse, and that stuff, but
Correct.
that's technical nitty-gritty we can take offline.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
bottom line is you're buying a project to fix it up and then sell it or refinance it. We can do that. You're buying a project to buy it and then hold on to it. We can do that. Everything else is a conversation.
Okay. Because I'm looking for asset base, not
Yep.
that. I haven't used my personal credit in 17 years, so I don't think I have.
So personal credit for these kinds of loans is not necessarily used. The loan is not
No,
showing up on your credit. It's just that
exactly.
it's being run. So lenders use, and I use the term lenders like as though I'm not one of them. I am. But in
Hmm.
general, as a group, lenders use credit scores as a litmus test for your savvy with money and where
Hmm.
you are currently, right? Whether you look, and this is for everybody on the call. Nobody ends up at a 500 credit score by accident. Something has to be happening in that person's life to get them there. Okay. And so, and then the question becomes, what is it that's happening in their life that's getting them there? And it gets really vital. Is it an issue with, oh, they're overutilized or they moved around and, bank statements didn't show up at the new house they were in and so they missed some payments? Or is it more of a, they're not paying their mortgage on their primary residence? And that's a huge deal for lenders, right?
Hmm.
So
Yep.
that's what credit scores are used for. So that's why you're right. We're not using your credit score. We're not putting anything, the lien is not going to end up on your credit report that there's a lien or anything else, but your personal credit score is being used to determine your savvy with money and then obviously the interest rates and everything else that goes with the loan.
Nice. All right. So
Yep.
definitely, thank you. The other
My pleasure.
question, where
Sure.
I recommend doing a guy who's done 5,000 plus flips since 1970. My question to you is, a lot of these new guys, if you're not going to lend, most of them should ask you why weren't you going to lend on that particular project and maybe
Hmm.
not to do the deal. Is that, do you educate people on that? Because that's
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
Because I'm an
If
old
we're
banker, so I loan to own. So I will only lend because I know I can complete the project myself. So,
right.
I'll take it back and do it and complete it myself. So, based upon that, cool. All right. So,
Hmm.
do you only have to qualify once with you? That's the other thing. I hate the paperwork. Can I qualify once for you and then I'm approved for the next 20 projects, or do I have to do it each and every time?
So it depends on what you mean by approval, right? We're going to pull credit every, let's say, 3 to 6 months. So that's not, being pulled every single time. And even now,
Yeah.
pulling credit is a soft tri-merge. So it's not
Mhm.
even hitting like a hard pull anymore. That part gets done in, let's say, 3 to 6 months. Your
Okay.
experience, once you're in the highest bracket, I don't need your updated experience portfolio for the last 3 years if you're already in the highest bracket. So that's not necessary. But what I do need is, let's say, updated bank statements, because that does time out, right? Every single month, bank statements time out. So we will need updated bank statements. Your
Okay.
ID, I don't necessarily need, right? Your operating, or I need it once. Your operating agreement, your LLC docs, right? I need it once. So while we're looking at each loan individually, there are things that we can reuse, while some we need to get every time.
You say you're on with the Mark Abramovich.
Hey, how y'all doing, everybody? My question is probably sound a little crazy or not, but let me just shoot it out there. How does the novation agreements work?
I Innovation agreement in terms of what? I mean, for my renovation budget, it has no bearing on it here whatsoever. Um, like for renovation budgets, it doesn't matter.
But ain't novations like fixing the house up.
So the novation itself, so in terms of novation agreements, a novation agreement is about what kind of arrangement you have with the house seller in terms of fixing it up, how you're splitting profit when the sale happens, correct? That has to do with your arrangement of how you're making money on the flip, I want to say. While what I'm discussing right now is the renovation budget that you potentially put together to work with your contractor who's handling that renovation of that novation project, or potentially if you've got lender funds, right? And most likely it's private money at that point because you don't actually own the property. So financing it is not happening with me, for example. But your private individual that you go to, you want to show them the renovation budget that we're discussing to explain what you're going to get done to the house.
Oh,
Mark,
my apologies, my brother. I
No, no
misunderstood
worries.
the whole
Sure.
situation.
yeah, no, and
It's okay.
Sale, if I could jump in there for a second, with a novation, there's a property which somebody owns. They have an investor that's going to jump in to do a novation. And for those of you that aren't aware, that means you, as the investor, are going to finance the rehab of the property. You don't have to buy the property, but there's an agreement with the owner of the property that, let's say, for example, all the homes in that neighborhood are going for 600,000, and this house is very, very depressed. It's maybe valued at 300,000. But you know that if you put, you know, 125 into that, you can possibly bring that up to a level of close to maybe 500. So you might make, another 75 beyond what you invested. And then the novation agreement means that the owner would get whatever the value they were originally seeking, let's call it 300. And that if you're putting in 100 into the house, it might get up to 500, that you would get the monies above the guaranteed amount to the owner. The owner is you can say, okay, your house is worth 250. If you sell it now, you might get 275. If you let me do the novation, you have 300. So now the agreement is they get it for 300. But you put monies into the house, knowing that once you put in these monies that the owner wasn't willing to put in, that you could get a much higher price than that the owner originally thought. A lot of times the owners will be like, well, gee, I should get all that money. But well, no, they didn't do the upgrade. As far as what Mark's talking about, the budget, the renovation budget, doesn't matter if I've bought the house as an investor, somebody else has it as an investor, the house needs to be upgraded. So that means there needs to be a budget. And that's whether you're financing it through someone like Mark and they're going to give you the renovation budget, or you're financing it through a private lender. But the point is, you have to renovate that house. You have to break out your scope of work. You have to identify your line items. Some of them are labor and materials. Some of them are just labor. Something you just need to buy and have it installed by somebody. That's just materials. but you have to break out all the things you're going to do, come up with your bottom line figure, and then with your own expertise or assistance from someone like Mark, um, is this something I want to do? Is it going to be worth my time? But the actual creation of the budget itself really doesn't matter from one to the other. Is that correct, Mark?
Hmm. Correct. And
Yeah,
that's what I'll show you in the Excel.
yeah. All right.
That's kind of the idea here. Hey, Troy, good to see you.
Hey, been a while.
Likewise. So how can I help?
I just kind of have a plain Jane. When a budget starts to slip, how do you
Mhm.
personally approach that? Do you like cut scope? Do you eat the margin, or do you push back? And what is the deciding principle behind it?
So personally, I don't really do renovations. So I don't have my personal budgets don't really slip just for that reason. I don't do renovations, so there's no budget to slip. Now, what's funny is what I'm going to show you guys about renovation budgets and how they work. I actually use that same methodology for my own stuff. Meaning, when I'm working on for example, when I have to have something done in my house, I had walls put up in my office. I used the same exact methodology. It was here's the walls, here's the doors, here's the material and labor, here's the painting, and everything was broken up into individual line items where there's no give because I told the contractor, hey, this is what I need done. This is the budget we agreed on. So there's no slip. Now, same thing happened with, let's say, I had stucco done in my house. Same thing. We had the entire line, budget broken out into, first they're going to rip off the old siding or whatever's rotted and replace it. And so we have line items for that. Then there was a line item for, we're going to put on weatherproofing all across the house. Okay, there's a line item with a dollar amount. And then we're going to do, we're going to actually apply stucco. There's a line item, right, for how much that costs. And then there was painting of the house after the stucco is done. Same thing. So the entire budget for my stucco job of my house was $15,000. But because it was broken up into easy to understand, done, not done items, the contractor and I never argued. It was, you want to get paid? Not a problem. Here's what you need to get completed, and then I reimburse. So when he reached out to me and said, hey, we're done with pretty much, with this up to this point, not a problem. I mean, I can see the stone on my house, right? I can see the stucco on it, with primer. Great. Here's the $10,000 wire. Now we just have the painting to work with. Now, in terms of creep, what did happen, and I was aware of this, and we had this initially in our agreement, was because I knew that some of my siding was rotting. We actually had it that replacing 5 sheets of plywood was part of the budget. Every additional sheet of plywood was going to be $50 a sheet. So when he basically came back and said, hey, there's more rot, and I'm aware, I live in South Florida, it's humid, it's wet. I had wood paneling, which is exactly why I did stucco, right? It's not a surprise. So when he came back and said, listen, I know we budgeted for 4 or 5 sheets, whatever, of plywood, but we actually ended up replacing 10 of them. So we now have to, bill you for an additional 5 sheets at $50 and it's $250. My response was, not a problem, add it to the bill. Fine, right? So that's the way I control my budget because I don't have it floating. It's based on done, not done. Now, obviously, if you pull open a wall on a rehab project and you're surprised by what you see behind the wall, yeah, what you may end up having to do is you have to either rebudget some of the other items, and this is what my clients do. They'll repurpose some of the items. Hey, we pulled open the wall, and instead of just being able to resheet rock it, we now have to do 5,000 extra dollars of reframing that we weren't counting on. But guess what? The driveway, instead of re-asphalting the whole thing, we're just going to dump gravel on it and smooth it out in order to put the budget from there to here. That's fine. As long as the overall budget doesn't grow, as long as it's repurposed, we can do that.
I was kind of thinking, like people have that, having the issue of finding asbestos or lead sometimes or stuff
Mhm.
like that. And it's like, well, this wasn't budgeted for. How do we deal with this? It's like,
So first of all, the budget, on the one hand, your budget should include about a 10% contingency. And when I pull up the Excel, you guys will see that it's automatically in there. So one, your budget should have 10% contingency. Two, you can always move your budget from, like I said, some of the other items in your renovation budget can shift over. Number three, unfortunately, that's part of the game. That sometimes you might have a surprise where you're going to go over budget that way and it's eating into your profit. But there's really nothing to be done about it,
I mean,
right?
part of where you're at, Troy, is between a rock and a hard place. You want to pad your budget so you have some flexibility in there, but you don't want to
Not too much.
have it too big.
Yep.
Unless budget's not an issue, and you can go to your great uncle's got gazillions of dollars and say I need $10 trillion. He says, here you go, Troy.
But there's still an ARV of the property. So I totally get it. I mean, look, you get caught out there by an unpleasant surprise of, oh, look, there's lead and you have to now over budget, go over budget on it. Yes, you may have to either shift things from one item in the budget to another, or potentially you are eating into your profit. No two ways about that. And this is where, prior inspections of the property before purchase are important. This is where you can have an inspector come in and do a rough and dirty inspection for you, looking for these kinds of things. Might be a couple of $100 well spent, or a contractor to look through and find if there's any issues, like you said, asbestos, lead, things like that you may have to budget for.
I just wanted to clarify something on the novation
Sure.
agreement. Typically, a
Okay.
novation agreement is when the seller is selling a property, it has not been finalized yet, and he wanted to novate his interest in the property. I don't think it applies to this particular thing where you want to do some improvements to the property. Because let's just say seller A has sold it, hasn't closed yet. The new owner now has an interest in there because it's been novated. I don't think it applies to that at all.
That's fine.
Okay.
That's my
let's put it. It's you're right. So, and it's funny that I had this conversation literally today.
Okay.
That yes, novation has to do with contracts,
Right.
but a few years ago, I heard the first time I heard the term was specifically with an arrangement between the investor who wants to fix up a property, but they don't want to buy it from the seller. So they have a novation agreement where they're going to renovate the property and then participate in the profit from the sale. That's
Okay.
how it was explained to me a few years ago.
And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
agree. I
So
agree.
I'm not, yeah.
Okay.
So,
yeah,
Okay.
that's how I was explaining. My only point was in agreeing with Mark that he's talking about the budget itself between contractors and the
Yeah.
lenders, and that means scope of work.
Yep.
Mark,
yes.
Jerome, do we answer your question?
Yes, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay.
Good to see you, my friend. Do we ever, from an accounting standpoint, because I'm dealing with bookkeepers and accountants, and we have our subcategories of plumbing, electrical, cabinets. Sometimes do we need to separate, and maybe not in all those, but some of those, maybe from your standpoint as a lender, do we ever separate labor from materials, or is that something the accountant has to worry about?
So I think labor and materials is a separation for the accountant more so. For me, and again, it comes to easy to understand rehab budgets. It's one and the same, right? Your HVAC guy is replacing, again, use a simple example, you're replacing the AC system, right? So
Yeah.
you've got the outdoor condenser unit and you have the air handler inside, and there's the cost of materials. So let's say the equipment's going to cost $4,000, and then there's the $1,000 labor charge. To me as a lender, it's one $5,000
What are they
renovation
saying?
budget.
Yes.
It's one line item that's basically $5,000 for replacing the HVAC. The fact that you may want to have a separation so that your accountant somehow tracks it, maybe, but I don't really see the need either. It's still an expense item to you, regardless if it's material or labor. Okay, but you do want to have that material and labor. And you're right. The fact that somebody could be coming in to do demolition, and so there's not really material there, it's all labor. labor and remove and hauling, although there is a rental of the dumpster, right? So that they could have, a $5,000 dumpster rental and $5,000 of labor in order to break down the walls that you're removing, cart all of the stuff out of the house, collect up all of the garbage, keep it clean, right? So now you have a much bigger shift towards the labor rather than the material. But again, to me, it's a demo line item. It's just a
Yeah.
single line item of demo.
And the thing that's coming to my mind as I ask that is depending upon how much money we're giving to a vendor for labor, that then we're talking about their tax, their W-9, their 1099, and that's when bookkeepers and accountants are going to ask you how much of that was labor, how much of that was material, because then there is, which doesn't affect the lender, Mark the lender at all.
Yep.
This is
Right.
now us guys when we're paying our taxes, and that's deals with our bookkeeper and accountant. So just keep in mind that when you are breaking down all of
Yep.
your structural uh uh departments or whatever, from cabinets and drywall and roofing and solar and electrical and plumbing and swimming pool, that within those, some of those may actually, depending upon how much you're spending, you may want to keep in mind that you'll keeping tabs on labor versus material for your accountant for your at the end of the year numbers.
Right.
So,
That's for your accountant, but from my perspective and from the renovation budget as you're negotiating it with your contractor, in the end run, it's a line item,
yeah.
right? Replacing your, toilet, $150. Toilet for 150 for labor, whatever, as an example.
Yeah.
So to you is just one single line item. That's easier, by the way, again, to understand, done or not done. The toilet is either replaced or it's not, right? It's either there or it's not.
Good on, Rob.
Hey, Mark, I don't know if you remember me. We
I
met at the
do. Good to
picnic,
see you. Yes.
and you know
Yes.
what? I'll tell you, man, I have a vision problem, but you are completely unrecognizable shaved. So I had to do a double take on you. But
I was on the road for so long before that event that all of my hair grew out, my beard did, and I look at the photos of the event thinking, "Oh my God, I look like a Yeti." So, yeah,
no, but I appreciate you speaking there as well
of
as
course.
today and coming out. But two things. First off, in the beginning when you came on, you were speaking, and you really thanks for the motivation is what you gave
Sure.
me for somebody who's brand new. I've been doing this for a year now, and just how you're speaking of, just speak to your attributes, what you've been through, what you've accomplished in your life, and bring that to the table. So thank you for that first and foremost.
My pleasure.
And my question actually was regarding reimbursement, but I think you probably answered it. But I'll just
Okay.
ask it again.
Sure.
When you're verifying, how is that verified? Is that verified photo, video,
So it
person in
depends on the
hand?
lender. Yeah, it depends on which lender you're working with and what their process is. Some lenders will send a physical inspector, a person, and they contract out. I mean, obviously they don't have a staff of inspectors, but what they'll do is they'll subcontract out to, there's inspection service companies across, in the country that will have local inspectors. And it could be a local appraiser or a local realtor, whoever they contract with. So somebody will physically show up, take photos, and they have your rehab budget and they're going to physically check off what's done and not done. Okay. Other lenders will do it through geotagged photos. So they have apps that an investor can use on their phone where it's geotagged, so they know where the location is, right? That you're not at like across the country in a different house,
Yeah,
and
I've seen
then
those.
you're taking photos, right? And you're taking photos that are then available, that are uploaded to the lender, and they can review the photos. Some, like I mentioned, right, for one of my clients that I have a close relationship with, or I do a video walkthrough with her, right? And I've done this with other investors where we do a video walkthrough on Zoom. And so we have the budgets pulled up and we're comparing, what's in the budget and what's been completed. So it really depends on who the lender is and what their process is.
Okay, wow, I appreciate that. That's good to know.
Sure.
Thanks a lot. That's Money Rob, everybody. Don't ask how, ask how to get.
if you guys are seeing this, right? So you fill in your information here, and then we agree, get the free rehab budget now. And so here you can click on the link to start downloading it, right? So you just download the Excel spreadsheet. Additionally, there's a video here that explains how to fill it out and, kind of how to, the same thing that we're discussing tonight, except in about 7 minutes. So without the Q&A. So you download the spreadsheet, you open it up, and here it's basic information, right? Borrower information, property address, how many months will the project take, what's your estimate, square footage. And here you put in a brief narrative, right? What are you doing? Is it something, are you replacing a roof and updating the house? Is it a complete, tear down and rebuild, things like that. And here is the actual sheet with the line items. Now, you can see that there's 4 columns here, unit 1, unit 2, unit 3. So if it's a single family house, just fill in column 1. If you actually have multiple units that you're working on, right? Let's say it's a duplex, you just put in the appropriate items in the appropriate columns. And if you need more columns because it's a 5 unit, a 6 unit that you're renovating, you just keep adding more columns here. Just go further to the right. Now, here in the line items, this is what we were discussing. You want to keep it simple and easy to understand, but you also want to put in enough details. What does that mean? Let's say windows. You're going to be replacing windows. So replace windows. Okay. And let's say it's replace windows. I'm going to give you guys an example. Let's say it's replace windows and it's $2,000. So if a contractor needs to work on this, do they know how many windows to replace? No, right? Additionally, if you've got, if your lender is trying to reimburse you for the draws or an inspector comes out, same question. Do they know how many windows you replaced? No. So you want to add more detail. It's not replace windows, it's replace 10 windows. And it's not only replace 10 windows, it's replace 10 windows at $200 per window. Now you have your line item. It's easy to understand. 10 replaced, 10 windows replaced, $2,000 reimbursement. Here's your, I'm just, trying to find the easier stuff. Kitchen countertop, right? Here's all of your kitchen, broken out. Kitchen countertop. Okay. Replace countertop with quartz, right? $2,000. And you want to potentially even break in the square footage. Or if you're painting the interior, okay? You're painting the interior of the house. Paint.
Hey, excuse me, Mark.
Sure.
Hey, so like to go back to your window question, right? So like I understand, hey, replace 10 windows, but is that still vague if it has 16 windows? Like, do you need to be specific about location?
Not necessarily, no. You could, I mean, the more detail, the better, right? In the end run, the more detail you're able to provide, the easier it becomes for everybody. Again, clarity. So if you can say that it's replace 10 out of 16 windows, and let's say the 10 windows are on the second floor of the house, great. Replace, replace 10 smaller, whatever it is, right? If you can provide that additional detail, it helps.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. Square foot. So let's say it's paint entire house, 250 a square foot times whatever, 1,000 square feet. So now same thing. It's easy to understand that this is, a $2,500 budget, for painting the entire house. Okay. So now you fill in these individual items and the same thing. And by the way, if there's not enough, right? If you're doing, because there's bathroom master and then there's bathroom, something else. And see, line item like bathroom full remodel just sucks, even though it's in there. But for example, if you need to break in additional, bathrooms or whatever else, just, create another line item, for whatever you need to be doing. Now, Down here, what you're seeing is when all of this is done, there's a subtotal. The spreadsheet automatically populates a 10% contingency. Okay. So typically you want to have a contingency. Now, experienced investors that I work with, they'll sometimes they don't necessarily have one because they've already done this enough times where they have the numbers dialed in. And so here's something interesting. Lenders don't want to see this as more than 10%. They don't want to have a huge slush fund of, let's say, unclaimed money that's not associated with anything. So if for whatever reason you don't feel that 10% contingency for you personally is enough, just increase the line item. Instead of having quartz countertops being replaced for $2,000, up this number, make it $2,200 so that you pad countertops by 10%, or you pad this individual line item by 10%, and now your rehab budget or your 10% contingency is also padded. Everybody understand that? Nods, raised
That makes
hands.
sense.
Okay, good. Now, renovate, now let's talk about reimbursement. So very important moment here. Let's say you told me that it's going to cost you $2,500 to get the house painted. And you negotiate with the painter, you've got multiple houses that they're doing for you. And so the painter comes in and they're like, you know what? You get it done for $2,200. Well, to me, it doesn't matter. Your renovation budget's at $2,500. The house is painted. You're getting reimbursed $2,500. So the fact that you were able to save something, or you were planning on paying $2,000 for a refrigerator, but guess what? It's now President's Day sale at Home Depot, and the refrigerator that you were going to buy for $2,000 is now $1,800. It doesn't matter. The line item called for $2,000. That's what's being reimbursed. Now, that also comes with a flip side. You were going to replace the refrigerator for $2,000 and now prices went up. There's supply chain disruption and the refrigerator costs $2,500. You're only being reimbursed $2,000, the line item. Now, of course, this is where your contingency comes in. So this is exactly where if you go over budget on the line item, you can come in and you request the contingency that you have to dip into it, right? Your fridge, instead of $2,000, cost you $2,400. That additional $400 is coming from this contingency. Okay. And so your total budget is not just the subtotal, but it's the subtotal plus the contingency. This is what your total budget ends up being. And you just keep going through and you make the line items easy to understand. Somewhere here, there's going to be, flooring, carpeting, right? Flooring, hardwood. So flooring, hardwood, how many square feet are you replacing? What rooms are you replacing it in? Right? Flooring, tile. Let's say it's 1,000, 600 square feet of tile and three bathrooms. But your vinyl laminate is another 1,500 square feet across the entire house. All right. So this is the rehab budget. And pretty much you go through and you plug in whatever you're doing with as much detail as you can put in, right? Porch. Are you replacing a porch, or are you repairing or building a new deck or patio, right? Foundation repair. Something needs to be done, right? You put in the line item. Tree removal. Okay, tree removal. How many trees? How much per tree? So that there's a total line item, total budget line item here. Roof. Somewhere here should be like roofing, right? Replace. Okay, you're replacing the entire roof. Whatever, $15,000 to replace the roof. And so as you go through this entire budget line by line by line, and you can, again, add in whatever line items you need, sooner or later, you end up with this total budget that needs to get done for this property. And by the way, again, this applies to your personal life as well. This is the same stuff that I do in my personal life. When the contractor came to do my, as I said, the stucco, we broke up that stucco into the same easy to digest reimbursable items, right? It wasn't just finish all of the stucco and it's 15,000. No, finish this part, it's 5,000. Finish this part, it's another 5,000. Finish the painting, it's another $5,000. Now, reimbursement for work completed. So let's talk about this. I purposely broke out these 3 items. So do you need to have your own money to get the ball rolling? Yes, you do. But how you do it is a little different because your lender will want to see some amount of money, typically 10% of the renovation budget, in reserves, right? So that you're not closing on the loan and you're just broke. So they want to see 10%. But realistically, how do you fund that initial work? Could be credit cards. It could be your friend's credit cards. It could be a bunch of gift cards you got from birthdays for the last 10 years for grandma. It doesn't matter as long as the work can get started. Now, here are three methods of reimbursing for work. And so the first one is work is completed. You inspect what's been completed. You pay the contractor, request a draw, wait for the draw, and then the lender reimburses what you've spent. Okay. So here, your contractor is the one who got paid immediately, and you as the investor are the one waiting the longest. The next one is work is completed. You request a draw, and when the lender has done their inspection of it, that's when you pay the contractor, because now you're on the same page of what's been done. Okay? Everybody clear there? So at least you and the contractor are not arguing about what's been done. Oh, we did, and this is a real life story. I have friends who were dealing with, they were working with another pair of investors, and I was not the lender on this, and they were working with someone else, and the contractor would, let's say, simple example, would do the flooring, and he would do the flooring, and so they reimbursed the contractor. They paid the contractor 100% of the flooring job. But then the lender's inspector came out and said, no, the flooring is not 100% done. It's 95% done. Why? Because what the contractor didn't put down was the saddle between the bedrooms, between the rooms. Okay? Now, I see Mario shaking his head. This is, on the one hand, it's minor. But here's the point. Now my friends had to chase the contractor to get that done. He's already gotten paid. He has no vested interest in coming back and doing it, even though he should, but he's already been paid. But at the same time, if my friends would have waited for the lender's inspector to come in to at least do the inspection and say, here's what's been completed and here's how much, they would have been on the same page with the contractor about, hey, you still need to finish this out. So that's method 2. Work is completed by the contractor. You request a draw with the lender, and then you tell the contractor, we're going to wait until the inspection's done to know what's been completed. And then when the inspection's done and you know what you're getting reimbursed, that's when you pay the contractor according to what's been completed. And then there's method number 3. Work is completed. You request a draw. The work is inspected. You receive the money from the lender, and you use that money to pay the contractor. Now, this is all about negotiation, right? So everybody clear on these 3 ways of handling draws? All right, awesome. I can stop sharing because the rest is going to be just us chatting. So everything else is a negotiation, okay? So talking to your contractor about how you're going to pay them and what needs to happen is a negotiation. If your contractor screams, oh my God, I'm so broke, I need to get paid as soon as we're done, fine. That's part of your negotiation with the contractor. On the other hand, you could be dealing with somebody who's got a deeper pocket and who's more established. For example, my stucco guy, when we discussed, reimbursing for, by draws, he was like, listen, I'm not about to do like $5,000 draws. Like, I don't care. He's like, we're going to get far enough to where it's a major piece done, and that's when you're going to reimburse me. So effectively, we skipped ahead. He was able to carry the project for $10,000 up to like already the house was pretty much painted by the time he finally came through to do an inspection and walkthrough with me to say, okay, let's do $10,000, and we still have $5,000 right now that I have to pay, but there's a punch list that I came up with. That's part of your negotiation. How to pay them, how to get how to reimburse them, how to pay them. Now, here's the main part. Use your lender as the bad guy. Okay? Turn around, and if the contractor goes, "Oh my God, what am I going to do? How am I going to do this?" And you go, "Listen, I'm sorry, but this is how my lender works, and this is, they have to inspect the property until they release any funds."
That sounds to me like the hardest part of the whole thing.
Okay.
Because it seems like, okay, these are the things I need to do. These are approximate prices.
Yep.
Okay, this is the amount I need. This is going to be the rate. This is the payback schedule.
Yep.
Then when it gets right down into it, then it's a negotiation of all that.
So the negotiation is how long the contractor is waiting for his money, for his or her money after the work is completed on an item. So for example, same thing, HVAC gets installed, right? $5,000. Okay. Is the HVAC guy hard up and basically screaming in your ear now, "The HVAC's installed, I got to get paid my $5,000"?
I heard
Or are
it.
they okay with, right? Or are they okay with, it's going to be a day or two for the lender's inspector to come out and for me to get my money? Is it going to make or break them? Right? So this is part of the conversation. And look, if your HVAC guy screams in your ear and says, "Look, there's no way I'm waiting. The moment we're installed, the moment that AC is working, you got to pay me my $5,000." Fine. Pay them the $5,000. You just need to be aware that you need to make that payment and you're the one waiting to get reimbursed by your lender. In which case, how do you pay them that 5,000? Well, it could be a payment out of your account because you have the $5,000. It could be off of your credit card, right? You use your credit card to pay the 5,000, and then you simply pay off your credit card bill the moment your lender money comes in. It could be your friend's $5,000 that you pay to the contractor. Same thing. You paid them, and now you're waiting for your reimbursement. Then you pay off your friend for those 2 days.
And that sounds like the best way to go because, as you say, you're going to get draws depending upon when things are done, and that
Yep.
takes so much time for those monies to come through.
Yeah.
So, some of these credit cards have really long periods of time with no interest.
Correct.
So you can put
Correct.
certain charges, material. Sometimes companies will put their labor or their bill on that
Right.
credit card, and you just use your credit card, and whenever the draw comes in, you just pay off the bill.
Yep. Now, what I hear frequently from people is, "Oh my God, how am I going to pay my contractor? They told me they need a 50% deposit." For what? And it's a legitimate question. What do they need a deposit for? Do you show up? So if you think about it, your contractor has two things that they're charging you for. And I say contractor, subcontractor, labor, whoever's doing the work, right? They're charging you for two things. They're charging you for material and they're charging you for labor. Now, here's my simple question for all of you guys and gals on this call, all of you wonderful people. When you get a job at McDonald's, do you show up at your job and day number one go, "I want to get paid for I want to get paid ahead for the week that I'm going to be working here"?
Yes.
Yes. Awesome. And what typically would happen if you did that at
You'd be
McDonald's?
fired.
Maybe, but at least there would be a long, hard laugh, right? Okay. So why is it that your contractor shows up, has done nothing for you, and demands that you now pay them for zero labor? Why is that valid? Now, I completely understand when somebody shows up and they say, "I need an advance because we're going to pay for materials." Okay, that's physical material. That's your material. That's actually material that can get dropped off at your house or at the project house. That's your material, regardless of whether they proceed to install it or not. But that's a trackable, traceable, again, negotiable item that you can have a conversation with them about, right? Obviously, when I was having the stucco work on my house, now my contractor was wealthy enough where he was like, I don't need to, like, I'm not wasting my time. I know you, I get it. But we had the conversation that I understand that in order to do stucco on my house, he's going to have to buy X amount of wood and X amount of cement, right? Bags and bags of cement. So I could understand the need to pay for that material. I could understand that on one of my rental properties in Connecticut years ago, I needed to have the siding replaced after a fire. And when I got the bill, basically the bid, the quote for what the work was going to be, and the same thing, the contractor turned around and said, "I need a 50% deposit." And I said, and it was funny because both of us were out of Fortune Builder, so it was a common language. And I said, well, why do you need 50%? You know, what are you using it for? You haven't done any work. And he was like, well, we need to pay for material. And I said, not a problem. I'll happily pay for the material. To which he said, you know what? Again, it's not enough money for me to have a headache with you about it. I'll just get the job done and then pay me. Okay. But it's a conversation. Why do you need an advance?
You know,
So
let me throw this. I know in California, you know, contractors, you're only allowed to pay them so much. You're not allowed to ask for 50% up front. So I would imagine, just by you making that comment, that that's probably something that varies by state.
So here's my answer. I don't know if it varies by state, and I'm using 50% as an example in this conversation just for
Oh,
just
and
for
it works. It works though, because I've had subcontractors come to my house and want 50%. And I'm like, no way.
Right.
No way.
Right. And listen, some will tell you that the budget is going to be, you know, 30% at this milestone, 30% at that milestone, and then it's whatever. In the end run, again, it was a lot easier for me to track by done or not done. Have you done the framing of the walls in my house? Have you installed the sheetrock on the walls? Have you
Yeah.
put in the doors? Have you painted them? Easy to understand line items where everybody's on the same page. And I'm paying by the job, not by the hour. I don't care if it takes a little longer or a little shorter. As long as the job gets done, I pay for it.
With your renovation budget, you have a template for that you use. Is there any kind of a template of certain questions or some agreement template one might want to have for contractors? Like, okay, uh, you know, because otherwise we're really left at the device of always accepting the contractor's contract. And essentially, their contracts are meant to favor them.
Of course.
We can, as you say, we can negotiate.
Yeah.
So that we might not like, you know, we might want to have something of our own. I'm just trying to voice that. We might have something of our own there.
All right. So here's okay. I have multiple answers for that trick question. On the one hand, your education companies typically will provide you with contracts to be used with contractors. Okay. So yes, Fortune Builders provided a set of docs for all of us to use, you know, who were in Fortune Builders. I'm going to assume that Sub2 has something as well. I will also say that in the end run, for example, the contract that I used for my stucco work, it came from my contractor, but when I read through it, I simply went back and said, here's what I want changed. I didn't care. His contract was fine. The agreement of, I mean, look, what's a contract? A contract in the end run stipulates how much you're paying, what the payment schedule is, who's responsible for permits and fees and all of that stuff. And as long as you're able to read it, so as long as you're able to read it, you can understand it. What you can always do, especially today with ChatGPT, Grok, all of these AI models, you can always take the contract that's provided to you, float it in, and ask an AI, language program if this is favorable to you, not favorable. You could ask it to modify it according to whatever stipulations you want. Okay, so you could do it that way. Right. I'll run contracts, that I'm reading, even though I'm savvy enough now to understand contracts and read, and I've read enough and I've written enough of them. Even I will load up, boot up, let's say Grok, and put in that, hey, I need this kind of contract for this kind of scenario. Here's what I want in it. And it will spit out a contract for me that I can,
wow,
that's
amazing.
Use.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Gil, you're on. Mark, what's up?
Hey.
Hello, listeners. Sorry, every time JJ says, you're on with Mark, like I feel like, Fraser Crane, hello, Seattle, I'm listening.
I am a transaction coordinator by trade. And so as policy, as is standard in the industry, we charge 50% deposit up front. Now, a big part of that is because a fair amount, maybe even a majority, I would say, of creative transactions don't make it to the finish line, but the electricity company and the lease of the office space, they don't care about that. They still need their money. So you need to cover your costs. And that first 50% is how you cover your costs.
So I agree with you. And again, keep in mind that we're discussing different industries, just to be clear for everybody, right? Transaction coordination in a creative financing industry where most deals will not cross the finish line. So yes, if that is your, if that's part of your, I want to say, industry and that's the industry norm, I'm not disputing it, right? I'm discussing specifically renovation budgets. And again, notice I didn't say even with a renovation budget that I wouldn't necessarily advance. I just want to understand for what. And if the contractor told me that, Mark, I need you to advance me 30% because that 30% is actually material cost of the concrete that we're going to go to Home Depot and buy. And by the way, that 30% also includes a $500 delivery charge that Home Depot is going to charge us, or for my delivery of time to go to Home Depot and buy the concrete and deliver it to your house. I can completely understand it and appreciate it. And what's more important, I actually have the concrete sitting at my house in case the contractor doesn't do any further work, in case he disappears, in case he gets hit by a bus, God forbid, that concrete is available for someone else to do the job.
Cool.
The biggest issue that we have, and this is an unfortunate scenario in renovations, is you pay a contractor up front and then they disappear. And now you don't have the money and you can't do the project. And I'll give you a worse scenario. The same guy who did the walls in my house, and I told him that I would only reimburse him for work completed, then went to my friends who did not listen to my advice about how you should be reimbursing only. He went to my friends, he was doing work in their house, and instead of, let's say, $6,500 worth of work of walls, he was going to do $40,000 worth of, bathroom remodel, kitchen remodel, flooring. And so he took a 50% deposit. That's $20,000. And then he did some work and then he ghosted them. And when they essentially went to an attorney to say, hey, he didn't finish the work, we're okay paying him. He did about $10,000 worth of work. Give us back the $10,000 that you didn't use. The attorney's response was, we're not going to win this case at this point because guess what? He did do some of the work and it's going to be difficult to prove if it was $10,000 or $20,000 and you're pretty much SOL.
Yeah.
Same guy, but the methodology of how the investor or the, working with him, is very different.
Yeah.
Okay.
I used to be in solar sales actually, and that's how I know that the maximum deposit in California is $1,000. We used to do $1,000 deposit, and that was milestone 1, and then milestone 2 and milestone 3. It was about essentially 60% before someone ever came out to do any work. The customer paid about 60% of the total price before the solar panels were ever installed. But that money paid for the salesman's commissions, and it paid for reserving the solar panels with the wholesaler, and it paid for whatever appointments had to be set with the utility company as well.
Okay. Again, you're right. Every industry has their own kind of tweak to it. Definitely, I think also solar is a little bit more regulated in terms of if they pull a fast one and disappear on you, what happens then too. So it's a little different.
Yeah, they have the CSLB, well, in California.
Gil, thank you so much.
Gil.
JK, you're on with Mark.
What's up? How you doing, Mark?
Doing good.
Hey, quick question. I think it might have got answered. Well, one, do you guys do ground up?
Yes.
Okay, and then how could you walk me through kind of your leverage as a lender? Because it's kind of just a huge rehab, essentially, right?
Correct. Same thing. So essentially, you would end up with some amount of money towards the purchase of the land, and then it's 100% of the construction budget. And that construction budget is same thing. You're going to break up that budget the exact same way. There's going to be some amount for foundation. There's going to be some amount for framing. There's going to be, a roof, right? There's going to be weatherproofing. There's going to be windows there, right? And by the way, how are you building a house? You're building from the outside in, right? So first the foundation, then the framing and roof, then you weather tight it, and then you start doing all of the internals, right?
Gotcha.
So, but essentially, it's the same thing. It's line items, and that's how you're being reimbursed. So framing, there's a line item of X amount of square feet of framing, X amount of dollars. So when the framing is done, it's easy to say framing's done. Here it is, right? Roof. Okay, whatever, however many square feet of roof, it's $15,000-$20,000. Great. The roof is on, that money's being reimbursed. And so we just keep going. It doesn't have to be these huge phases and milestones. It's just by the line item. However many line items you want to do.
Gotcha. And for your guys' ground up, are you like 16 months or 12? You just do 12 months.
12 to 18, depending on what you want. Right?
Okay.
I have some clients who are building, 3,000 square foot, million plus luxury homes. So they're looking for that 18-month term. While on the other hand, somebody who's doing and I don't want to denigrate anybody, right? But if you're doing like a quick cookie cutter $150,000 build, right? You don't need a loan for 18 months kind of approach. So
Right.
it depends
And
on the project.
I know you had it in that boot camp, but for like if a ground up project, are you still doing that like Dutch style interest, or does ground up end up being non-Dutch, like not charging?
It depends. It really depends on the capital source we would use. So it could end up Dutch. And by the way, for those who don't know, Dutch means full boat, or interest is being paid on the full loan amount, regardless of whether it's the money's been drawn or not. Uh, easy explanation. A lot of the time for a fix and flip loan, the interest being charged is charged on only the money that's been used. So for example, there's 100,000 gets used for purchase money. And let's say there's a $50,000 renovation budget. The interest is only being charged on what's been used, meaning the initial interest is being charged on that 100,000 for the purchase. And then only as the renovation money is being used, does interest get charged on that money. So that's that's interest on drawn money, and then there's what's known as full boat or Dutch, or interest charged on the full loan amount from day one, meaning interest on everything. So it depends. The sorry, long answer, but it depends.
Sweet, thank you.
Of course.
Thank you, AJ. Good to see you, my friend. Mario, you're on with Mark.
Yeah, Mark, one of the suggestions I have is just a trick from doing, I rehab all over the country, so I'm not going to be able to see every contractor. So what we do is they're equity partners with me.
Okay.
So most contractors, our nightmare when we do fix and flips is they walk away in the middle of the project. So what I say to them is, look, you're going to charge me a 60,000 renovation. We're going to stand and make 120,000 on this. You'll make a $20,000 profit on the 60,000 you charge me of yourself. Would you like 30,000 to be an equity partner? So that's one way. Second little trick, I'm not having the boneheads go up to Home Depot or whatever to buy it. So I use a corporate account with whoever the supplier, and I have it shipped right to the house.
Yep.
So that way the contractor doesn't take a whole day and charge me to drive to go get the equipment to come over. So those are two little tricks. But I'm telling you, I've done it many times where I have an equity partner and the hard money guy partner with me, or private money guy. Hard money guys can't. They're regulated, so they can't be, even though they make more money with me doing it the other way. It's not their money. They're lending money from what they accumulated. So, it's just a little trick I would recommend to people to consider. That way, I'm old school from New York, so I can carry my 10 millimeter, but, they know if I show up in New York, they're like, people have asked me, who the hell are you? I'm the guy who's lending you the money.
Right.
So, but, they don't want me to show up at the site. That's the wrong message, you know. But if you get the contractors to agree with that, I think is a way better. I've yet to have a contractor because it comes out of their equity.
Yep.
So
Yep.
if you get them to contract with you on that, it's a beautiful thing. You know, consider that. It's all negotiable. And I laugh the same as you. Why the hell would I give you 50% when you haven't done shit? It's
Yep.
like giving you a mechanic, oh yeah, fix my car, but here, I'm going to give you 50% of it already.
Yep.
So Mark, wow, you've got some good bombshells there. Great information.
Good.
It's always something we don't always think about. I mean, you're on, well, I guess it depends on the person. Some of us are more numbers oriented, and I am, but sometimes breaking down the budget like that is something that not everybody has an expertise for.
Make it very simple. Just keep it simple for yourself, right? What are you doing? And a simple line item for, right? You're replacing a toilet. Okay, how much does a toilet cost and how much will the labor be to replace it? You're changing a vanity. Okay, well, a vanity at Home Depot costs, vanity with mirrors about 450 to, $600, depending on which one you're buying, whatever, right? So simple, easy to digest line items with a dollar amount, because all of it will just tally up at the end. It's just simple addition, and you're going to end up with a budget, total. Now, can you start squeezing? And oh my God, the budget is so much. Do I have to replace all of the windows, or can I service them? Do I have to put in, high end, hardwood floors versus laminate? I don't know, but that's up to you as the person putting together the budget. But the line item being very easy to understand and very clear, that is what I'm, harping on and hopefully drumming in.
There you go. Cool. No, and again, that's the first thing I thought of when you started presentation day. It's about the line item and making sure everything's accounted for.
Yep.
Throwing some big kind of party and making your list and checking it twice.
Correct. Yep.
So I got two last questions for you, my friend.
Sure.
If
Go for
people
it.
want to reach out to you, they've got questions about how to do a budget, or they're doing a rehab and they want to come and get some lending to cover their rehab, cover their purchase. Like I said,
So,
got basic questions for you on how to break the deal down. What's the best way for people to reach out to you?
all right. So best way to reach me is either email or phone. Now, here, I'll put it in the chat. My phone number is 917-865-8023. That's my cell. My email is mark@allwayscapitalllc.com. So you guys can email me. You can call or text me on the phone number. If you text me and we haven't talked before, at least tell me who you are before dropping questions. And then obviously, if you need financing, you can visit alwayscapitalllc.com. You see the link, and there's there's going to be a bright button that says borrow funds today. And so you can click that button, and pretty much we'll put together a quote and let you know what we can do for your individual deal. And that's our site. And then if you look through, who we are, it's as JJ mentioned, it's four partners. It's myself, JJ, Brian, and Bob McIntosh. So
Fantastic. Hey, everyone has a different field of expertise. Some people have the same field of expertise, but there's many different aspects to this. You and I met at the beginning as you were venturing or had been into the lending field, been familiar with that, and that's where you were headed. And if somebody asked me, what do I want to do, and what's your expertise, and it was
throw parties.
throwing parties, and so I've gotten into the networking thing where I'm bringing people together. Some great guy told me that. But I always talk about networking and the importance of building relationships to build your business. And as a real estate investor, a lot of people, they're going to get into this to make money, but they quickly realize they can't do it by themselves. A lot of people even buy into an education program thinking that's enough. But obviously, it's not just being a member of a community, but how do we, as I say, squeeze the juice from that orange? You've been in this for a while. You've been doing this. You've attained quite a bit of success and respect throughout the country. What is the importance? My question: what is the importance of networking, leveraging social media to build one's business in real estate today as an investor?
So, first off, I'm going to use your phrase, which is your network is your net worth. And those of you who don't really understand it, it's not only about dollars. It's not about the money. It's about the connections you have and the reach that it gives you. It's actually really funny. One of my favorite stories to tell about this is that I met some friends through Fortune Builders who, when we went to hang out with them, they invited the husband, my friend invited me to take my boys and go crabbing with him. And I got to do something I've never done in my life, and I got to get to take my kids and have them experience something they've never done, right? It was an experience we wouldn't have had without the network.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I want to point out that it's not about the dollars. Your network and the net worth of that network is not about the dollars. It's about experiences and opportunities that it gives you. So how vital is it to network? It's vital. You can't do a deal without having somebody to make an offer to. You cannot borrow money without having somebody to borrow it from. You cannot sell a property without having somebody to sell it to. So you need to be dealing with people. So networking is vital. Now, social media is my Achilles heel. That's why I partnered with you, so you could handle that, and I don't have to. But what I will say is that you have to network. You cannot be invisible. In my case, my strength lies in actually talking to people live. I can actually pick up the phone. I don't have stage fright. I'm not shy. So for me, I laugh that I'm a professional lunch goer now. I will, reach out to people. I will have a conversation with them. I will take them to lunch. We will break bread and have a conversation. It's vital to make these connections. So for those of you who are on this call, right, whether through social media, whether through phone calls, networking, events like this, Zoom calls, just picking up the phone and talking to people, going to your local areas, you got to be out there. There's no getting around it. And the more you're out there, the more activity, the more things will click. I have to say, like, somebody who wants to buy a fix and flip, you got to make 100 offers. And the thing is I 100% believe that if you make 100 offers, you're going to get at least one of them accepted. Now, the next time you want to get a deal done, I'm going to figure that if you make 100 offers, you're going to learn something.
Mm-hmm.
And out of the next 100 offers, you're going to get more than one deal done because you learned something about how to make an offer. And out of the next 100 offers that you make, you're going to get even more deals done. So you're going to be able to make less offers and get more deals done because of the experience you're getting from making those offers. But guess what? Nothing beats making the offer. Nothing beats making the phone call. Nothing beats actually communicating with people
Yeah.
and talking to them. There's no getting around that. So
Yeah.
guys and gals, network your hearts out and do.
Yeah, no, it's exactly, and I was, talk to the new investors. Some might have, if people don't have apprehension, they're extroverted, they're outgoing, it's all downhill. I mean,
Yeah,
it's easier.
of
If
course.
people are not extroverted, they're introverted, they're reserved. I stuttered as a kid. Someone may have a speech impediment. That doesn't really matter,
No,
because as you get comfortable with people, you're going to open up. And again, as you say, the more we talk to people, the more comfortable we get. The more comfortable we get, the more confident we get. The
yep,
more confident we get, the more successful we get.
correct.
If you guys are on the call, do not disappear. We're going to have some more quality time with Mark. If you guys are watching on YouTube right now, please like Mark's video and please put in the comment sections what your takeaways were, what you found informative, how good looking he is, and if there's anything else that you'd like to see from me, maybe however I can improve the product we're giving you, or someone you might want to see as an upcoming guest speaker, please feel free to do that on the YouTube channel. If you're not yet in the group, you want to join the group, scan the turquoise QR code here. Takes you to my website, jazizian.com, and register now. You want to subscribe to the YouTube and see all the videos of all the guest speakers. Scan the purple QR code. We have some great content there. Um, Again, Mark, if people want to get a hold of you, it's going to be through the website, Always
Go to
Capital.
the website, my phone number that you guys have. You can email me. I'm not exactly hiding out there. You can always reach out to JJ and get in touch with me through him as well. Yeah, I'm not exactly
Yeah.
hiding out there.
So Mark, we'll see everybody out there who's with us on YouTube and Instagram and all that. Well, you're not on Instagram yet, but you're on Facebook and the website, of course.
I'm
And
out there in real life.
yeah, real life. Gotta come to our meetups. All right, guys, thank you so much. We'll see y'all soon.